In the quiet town of Willow Creek, Oregon, where the wind whispers among the pines and the streets barely hum with life, lived a young woman named Claire Donovan. At 22, Claire was a fragile soul with a burden she couldn't shake. She was blind. Her world had been shrouded in endless darkness since childhood. Her beautiful hazel eyes saw nothing, not the harsh hills nor the soft light of dawn. She lived in a dilapidated house with her adoptive mother, a woman hardened by years of struggle and drowning in fog. For Margaret, Claire was not a daughter, but a burden, a reminder of dreams that never came true. The townspeople pitied Claire. Their footsteps followed her as she tapped along the dirt paths, but pity was all they could offer. Claire's days were simple, but hard. She sat for hours, feeling the warmth of the sun beyond the shadows. She had no memories of her early years, her mind a blank slate. After a fever that stole her past when she was only 5 years old, all she had left was a necklace, a small silver chain with 2 pendants, a sun and a moon. It was her only treasure. A secret she clung to, although she couldn't remember who gave it to her or why. Margaret mocked it, calling it junk. A knife with trembling fingers outlined its shape as if it wounded answers she couldn't see. One day, gray, Siwa, when rain pounded the roof, Margaret returned home with unusual energy in her voice. She talked about a job in New York, a chance for Clunter to escape their dead-end town. "They need someone like you," Margaret muttered. Her words were thick with deception. "A kind man offered $5,000 to get you started. This is your ticket out." CLR hesitated, her heart pounded with anxiety. But Margaret insisted, painting a picture of a better life. Naive and desperate for change, Kelosor agreed. She gathered her meager things, a worn sweater and a necklace, trusting. The woman who raised her, despite years of cold neglect, the journey to New York was a blur of sounds. As the hum of a bus, the chatter of strangers, the jingle of coins as Margaret counted the fare upon arrival. Margaret led Claire to a high-rise building on the Henna, its glass walls a sharp contrast to the wooden logs of the Willow Creek. They were met by a man with a smooth and commanding voice. "Is it her?" he asked, and Margaret nodded greedily. "Take care of her," she said, pocketing the money before disappearing into the chaos of the city. Claire was left alone, confused and abandoned, her cane tapping nervously. A real estate empire dominating the New York skyline. Tall and striking, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes, Jack bore the burden of wealth and expectations. He was there against his will. He was summoned by his grandmother, Dorothy Sullivan, a formidable woman. For 7 years, Dorothy ruled the family with an iron fist. Her beliefs were rooted in old traditions. She, clutching a leather-bound book of family lore, insisting that a prophecy foretold doom unless Jack married the woman destined to save them, Claire declared, "This is the woman. Her birth matches the signs," Dorothy insisted, her voice unwavering. "She will protect our legacy." Jack scoffed at the idea. He had no time for superstition or a wife he had not chosen. His heart belonged to memories he called sunny. From childhood in upstate New York, the 2 children were inseparable, running through fields under a summer sky. He gave her a necklace with the sun and moon, promising to marry her. One day, under the stars, then she disappeared, lost to a tragedy he couldn't remember, leaving him with guilt and a vow to find her. That promise haunted him like a faint light in his cold calculation. Her eyes glittered with determination. Reluctantly, Jack agreed, though his resentment smoldered. Claire was led to the mansion. The Shroud's vast estate on Long Island, its halls adorned with portraits of stern ancestors. She felt a change in the air, the weight of wealth and contempt. Her family saw her as a stranger, a blind girl from nowhere, unworthy of their name. Jack barely spoke. His presence was a shadow, colder than pain, more than comfort, an urgent event in the mansion's chapel. Claire stood in someone else's dress, her hands trembling as she repeated vows she barely understood. That night, under Dorothy's watchful gaze, Jack fulfilled his duty in silence. It was mechanical, devoid of tenderness, leaving Claire devastated and stunted. She lay sleepless, clutching her necklace pillow as a better life spawned. She sold it, traded it for a handful of dollars. Jack was not a savior, only a man trapped in his grandmother's whim. His heart was closed to her. The Sullivan family whispered behind her back. Their words were sharp as knives. She was nothing. Dreams of Ronnie, a beggar in the halls. Blindness made Claire vulnerable. Her cane a symbol of weakness, they mocked. But she clung to a fragile hope, a whisper in her soul that this was not her end. She didn't know that Jack was looking for the sleigh, that the necklace she wore was the key to their shared past. Her memory had faded, but her heart ached with a longing she couldn't name. Jack immersed himself in work, avoiding Claire while guilt gnawed at him. He hated the prophecy. He hated control. Dorothy hated the stranger now tied to him. Every glance at Claire reminded him of his failure to find the girl who once illuminated his world. There were necklaces, a sun pendant in a box, a secret that Dorothy carefully guarded. She watched them both, confident that Claire would be their salvation, not seeing the storm brewing in her grandson. The stage was set, a fragile alliance built on lies and losses, ready to fall apart in unpredictable ways. Claire's life in the mansion began as a prisoner in a gilded cage. She traced the walls with her cane. Studying the echo of each room, her spirit was bruised and unbroken. Vanessa Harper watched from the shadows, a woman with her eye on Jack and a thirst for power. She didn't know that her necklace held the truth that would change everything. For now, she was alone, a blind girl sold into a world that despised her. Her heart whispered of a love she couldn't remember, a love that she could still find. Claire Donovan's new life in the Saliva Nav mansion on Long Island was a prison. Huge halls with polished floors and tall chandeliers gave no warmth to her darkened world. At 22, she navigated her blindness with a cane. Its soft taps echoed in rooms where she felt like a ghost. The Saliva Nav family treated her with poorly concealed contempt. Their voices emanated from the corn when she passed by. Jack Sullivan, her husband of only a few weeks, was a distant figure. His presence was fleeting and cold. He spent his days locked in the Sun Enterprises office in Manhattan, leaving Claire alone with a moment of contempt. She clung to her necklace. The sun and moon pendants were her only consolation, a connection to a past she couldn't remember. Claire had no idea that a storm was brewing within the walls of her new home. Vanessa Harper, a witty and ambitious employee of Sullivan Enterprises, set her sights on Jack at 28. Vanessa was a striking woman with red hair and a calculating crata, hiding a heart full of greed. She climbed the corporate ladder with ruthless precision, but wanted more of Jack's power, his wealth, and his name. Vanessa knew of Jack's obsession with Sonny, a childhood friend he sought to find. One late night in his office, she overheard him confiding in his assistant, Greg Foster, about the sun and moon necklace. "Sonny was everything to me," Jack muttered, his voice full of longing. "Yanni, I will never stop looking for her." This moment, A man was born. 30 years old, with a quiet manner and hidden resentment, he became her ally. Greg had faithfully served Jack for years, but envy smoldered beneath his calm. He craved Jack's life, the power he wielded, and Vanessa promised him a share. One evening, when Claire sat alone in the mansion's library, tracing the edges of a book she couldn't read with her fingers, her necklace slipped from her neck and fell to the floor. Vanessa, passing by with reports, noticed his lure glint in the dim light. She picked it up, her fingers tightened around the pendants. A smile appeared on her lips. "There it is," she whispered to herself. "The key to Jack's heart is now in her hands." Vanessa wasted no time. The next day she met with Greg. In a dark corner of the building, her voice was quiet and insistent. She said, showing the necklace, "I will become a slave. You know his stories, his memories. Tell me everything." Greg hesitated. His loyalty to Jack wavered, but the promise of wealth carried him through. The next week, he supplied her with parts. Summer days by the lake. Games of promises under the stars. Vanessa studied everything, carefully lining up you, Meli Emna Ranmo. Once described at Sunny's after a fall, then with a necklace in his hand, she approached him. It was a rainy day when Vanessa entered Jack's office. Her expression was soft and hesitant. "Jack," she began, her voice trembled slightly to seem sincere. "I need to tell you something." She took the necklace out of her pocket, letting it dangle in front of him. Jack's eyes widened. Breath caught when he recognized the pendants of the sun and moon. "Where did you get this?" he demanded, getting up from the chair. Vanessa looked down, tears welled up in her eyes on command. "It's mine," she lied. "I've had it since childhood. I think I'm Sunny." She retold the stories Greg shared. Her words were imbued with enough truth to catch his scar on his shoulder. Trust matter. Jack's doubts collapsed, replaced by a stream of hope. He hugged her, whispering, "I found you while Vanessa was hiding triumph. Sunny, the girl he lost, and Cieltor Vanessa faded into the background of his life." She moved into the mansion at his insistence. Her presence became a constant thorn in Claire's side. Dorothy Sullivan, always vigilant, approved of Vanessa, not seeing the lie. She wanted him. The ex no longer spoke to her. His steps avoided her rooms. Vanessa, inspired by success, began to torment her, whispering insults in private, calling Claire a worthless burden. Margaret Hayes, called by Vanessa for small errands, joined her. Her drunken taunts cut deeper than ever. "You are useless. One thing, VV," Claire could not see, and her world became darker, especially when she found out she was pregnant. A faint hope glimmered in her. A chance to create something good from her brokenness. She kept it close to her heart, dreaming of a child who could love her unconditionally. But Vanessa noticed a change in Claire's behavior, a subtle glow beneath her pain, and she did not intend it. Endure at a private dinner in the mansion, where only family and a few servants were present. Vanessa struck. She waited for Claire to rise to leave. Her cane uncertainly tapped across the quiet hall. Pain pierced her, and by the time the maid found her dress, Claire was soaked in blood. The doctor confirmed her worst fears. The child was no longer there. Jack was at the hospital for several hours. Called by Dorothy, his face was a mask of indifference. "What happened?" he asked in an even tone. Vanessa clutched his hand, cried and lied. She fell. The clumsy Claire herself, weak and grieving, lay on the bed in the guest room and whispered through tears. She pushed me, but Jack turned away. His faith in Vanessa remained unshakable. "You will create problems again," he said coldly, leaving her to mourn alone. Dorothy also sided with Vanessa. Her faith in the prophecy wavered. Perhaps I was wrong about you," she muttered, leaving Claire. Alone with her grief, desperate and broken, Claire ran into Jack in his office the next day. "I can't live like this anymore," she said in a trembling but firm voice. "I want a divorce." She stood before him, clutching her cane tightly, her blind eyes glittering with. Jack barely looked up from the papers. "You are my wife by law," he replied abruptly. "Get over it." Vanessa, eavesdropping nearby, smirked as Claire stumbled out. Her plea went unanswered. The loss of a child broke something in Claire, but also lit a spark of FanCon, and she retreated. Warm on her skin, she didn't know its meaning, but it seemed like a promise to her. Meanwhile, Jack sunk deeper into Vanessa's web. He showered her with gifts, took her to dinners in the city, confident that he had regained his lost love. Vanessa played her part flawlessly, feeding him fictitious stories about their shared past. Her lies squeezed his heart ever tighter. Greg watched silently, hiding money from Vanessa in his pocket. His guilt drowned Pommy. GD, this shadow in her own home. Her spirit was wounded but not broken. She saw no path ahead, but fate was changing, ready to pull her out of darkness into a light she had never known. The necklace, her silent companion, held secrets she could not yet comprehend. It connected her to Jack in ways neither of them understood. A thread from childhood, sweat over a chorus of names, a borrowed trinket. The pain of Clinter became a crucible, tempering her for the trials to come. The mansion, once her cage, would soon become the stage for a reckoning none of them could foresee. The world of Clyster Donovan collapsed in the cold walls of the Saliva Nav mansion on Long Island at 22. She was a shadow of herself. Her blindness was a constant reminder of isolation, the loss of her unborn child. Aunt Vanessa Harper's cruelty had left her. Devastated, her pleas for a divorce were answered by Jack Sullivan's indifference, which cut deeper than any blade. A necklace with sun and moon pendants remained her only consolation, a fragile link to a past she didn't remember. She spent her days in a small room on the edge of the estate. Her spirit was wounded, her resolve. The whispers of the Sal-Livanov family would fade into the background noise. Their contempt was no longer her concern. Something inside her was changing, a spark of power she couldn't yet name. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country in Los Angeles, a man named Richard Langley sat in his spacious office atop the Langley Corporation Tower. At 60, Richard was a titan of industry. His silver hair and sharp gray eyes commanded respect. His wealth was enormous, his influence unrivaled, but in his heart he carried an unhealing wound. 20 years ago, his daughter Emily was stolen from him. She was kidnapped at age 2 during a chaotic moment at a crowded fair. The police. She searched for months, but the trail went cold. Richard never stopped searching, funding private investigators and a nonprofit organization, Lost and Found, dedicated to reuniting families. One day, a breakthrough occurred. A volunteer noted the case of a blind girl named Claire Donovan, abandoned by her adoptive mother in Willow Creek, Oregon. The story matched Emily's birth date and a vague description of a necklace she wore as a child. His thoughts became more frequent as he read the report. He sent a team to New York, where Claire now lived, on a secret but urgent mission. One clear morning, as Claire sat by the window, feeling the autumn breeze, there was a knock on her room. She tensed, expecting Vanessa or Margaret Hayes with new, poisonous words. Instead, a soft voice said, "Miss Donovan, my name is Sarah. I'm from Lost and Found. Can we talk?" Claire nodded. Tired but curious, Sarah explained the theft of the necklace. Years of searching. "We believe you are Emily Langley." She said quietly, "Your father wants to meet." With you, Claire's hands trembled around the pendants. Her mind spun. She had no memories of her father, no evidence except the necklace that she couldn't explain. But the hope in Sarah's voice pulled her like a siesel. Tro into the room, father's desperate need, on a private jet. Her cane replaced Sarah's hand. Richard was waiting in his Beverly Hills mansion with white columns and manicured gardens, a world far from Willow Creek. When Claire entered, he froze. Tears welled up in his eyes. She looked like his late wife, her features softened but recognizable. "Emily," he whispered, stepping forward. Claire shuddered, not accustomed to kindness, but his embrace was warm and reliable. "I found you," he said. His voice trembled. "I never stopped searching." Stunned, Claire clung to him. The word father sounded alien, but comforter in her language. Richard explained her past: kidnapping, fever, stealing. Her vision and memories, the necklace he gave her as a baby, everything came together like a puzzle in her darkened mind. Richard wasted no time. He brought in the best ophthalmologists from around the world, their experience, basement, his wealth in modern underwent surgery. Her heart pounded with fear and hope. When a few days later the bandages were removed, light poured into her world for the first time. In many years she blinked. Tears streamed down her cheeks when she saw Richard's face. His gray eyes shone with pride. Colors danced before her blue sky-green trees. Father's warm smile. "You are home," he said, and Claire nodded. Her voice drowned in emotion. Darkness gone replaced by clarity. She never knew she was Emily Langley now, a name carrying weight and promise. "It was obvious in every call, you are my daughter," he reminded her. "No one can take that away." Claire nodded. Her goal was clear. She would reclaim her life, her dignity, her truth. The past called her, his echo became everything louder. Claire's vision returned, but her heart remained in the shadow of questions. Was Jack the boy from her lost memories? Could she forgive the man who turned his back on her? Vanessa's deception. Unraveling. Claire stood on the threshold of a new chapter. Her blindness was gone. Her spirit lit up with light. She didn't know it yet, but the truth was close, ready to break through the lies and lead her to meltdown in York at 22. She shed the blindness that once defined her. Her Kari eyes were now sharp and purposeful. Nira, director of the New York branch of the Langley Corporation, she carried the trust of her father, Richard Langley. Her every move testified to her fortitude. Sully Ivanov's mansion, once her prison, was a distant memory, giving way to an elegant penthouse overlooking the Manhattan skyline. But she clung to it. Its threads were woven into a necklace she wore. Pendants in the shape of the sun and moon silently promised her something that she was just beginning to understand. She encountered Margaret Hayes and the Sullivan family, regaining her dignity. But a crisis loomed that would test her heart and rewrite her history across the city. Jack Sullivan struggled with the Roy Empire and the broken heart of Sullivan Enterprises, balancing the collapse of its stocks, plummeting under the ruthless company of Derek Marshall. Derek, a cunning real estate mogul with cold ambitions, allied himself with Vanessa Harper, supplying her with secrets to destabilize Jack's company. Jack's faith in Vanessa, as in Sanaa, was shaken. Her contradictions gnawed at him. He questioned Greg Foster, his assistant, whose evasive answers only increased his anxiety. Dorothy Sullivan, fragile but unyielding, clung to her faith in Vanessa. "I persuade Jack to support her." "She is your future," Dorothy insisted, her voice trembling with age. But Jack's gaze increasingly turned to Claire. The woman he had offended, Her presence at Langley events awakened something in him he couldn't name. The turning point came at the grand signing ceremony between Langley and Marshall, held in a glittering ballroom atop a Manhattan skyscraper. Claire had organized the event, her sapphire-colored dress glowing as she greeted the influential guests with quiet confidence. Jack was there, invited out of politeness in a sharp suit, but with eyes shadowed by the facade of Derek Marshall, a $1 billion grin with the corporation. Langley was almost certain, but the vile surface sang tensely, ready to explode when Claire took the stage to announce the partnership. A bloodied and pale man stumbled into the room. It was Greg Foster, Jack's assistant. His face was bruised from a car accident a few days earlier. The crowd gasped as he staggered toward Jack, his voice weak but insistent. "She's lying," Greg croaked, pointing at Vanessa. "She's not a sleigh." "I helped her steal a necklace from Claire." His hands clenched into fists as Greg continued. "Vanessa paid me to supply her with your memories. Amma survived the scar. It's all a lie." Vanessa's eyes widened. Her composure crumbled as she rushed forward. "He's delirious." She screamed, but Jack grabbed her arm. His voice was low and deadly. "This is the sale of a thing," Dorothy said. His words cut through the room. "I saw her switch the medicine. She wanted power." Dorothy, who had died a few days earlier, was thought to have died a natural death. But Greg's accusation ignited a rage. Jack released Vanessa and recoiled. Pieces of her past fell into place. Vanessa, cornered, the axis of her slid down. "Okay," she spat out in a venomous voice. "I did it. I took the necklace from that blind fool. I made you love me. Jack and Dorothy was in my way." The crowd exploded. The guards moved toward her, but Vanessa rushed away, pushing aside the guests to escape. Jack turned to Claire, his eyes begging. "I didn't know," he said, his voice trembling. "I think you're a sleigh." Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her hand touched the necklace. Memories flashed, faint but real. A boy by the lake, a promise under the moon. "Jackie," she whispered. The nickname from her father's photograph surfaced in her memory before she could even process it. The assistant burst in, out of breath. Vanessa had fled. She left a note, luring her to a warehouse in Queens. Claire's resolve strengthened. "I'm coming," she said. Jack nodded grimly. "I do too." They arrived at an abandoned warehouse under a stormy sky, its rusty walls creaking in the wind. Vanessa waited inside, her red hair fluttering in her hand. Derek's knife gleamed. Marshall stood nearby, his suit dented. His plan was ruining everything. "You ruined everything," Vanessa growled, lunging at Claire. Jack pushed Claire aside, receiving a shallow cut on her arm when he pushed back the bruises, but she broke free. Her strength was born from years of survival. "You're not my master," she hissed. Pushing him into a pile of boxes, Vanessa broke free, raising the knife again. Her eyes were wild. "If he's not mine, he won't go to anyone." She screamed. Before she could hit him, the warehouse doors swung open. Richard Langley burst inside, accompanied by private security. Their weapons were at the ready. "Drop it!" Richard barked. His voice thundered. The knife fell to the floor with a clang. The guards grabbed her and Derek. Richard pressed Claire to him. His relief was tangible. He called out, "Jack, I was wrong." He squeezed out, "You're Sonny. I promised you eternity by that lake. I'm mean to you." The words streamed down his face from the cairn. That letter. Dorothy's last words. She knew, he said. She wrote, "Claire, your salvation. Don't let go." Her heart sank. Anger and love fought within her. She sank down next to him. Her voice was soft but firm. "You hurt me, Jack. I lost. It's all because—" "That you didn't see me?" He nodded. shame aught on his face. I will spend my life making amends. He swore, holding out his hand to her. She hesitated, then tore up the divorce papers she carried, letting the scraps fall. We will start again, she said. Her eyes met his guards, dragged Vanessa and Derek away. Their plans collapsed. Justice was coming. Richard watched. His pride was obvious. You are stronger than me. May, he said, leading her away. His hand was bandaged sky, reflecting the promise they made as children. Claire touched her necklace. Pendants of the sun and moon lay warm on her skin. She regained her past, her sight, her strength, but her heart remained a battlefield, torn between the pain Jack caused and the love. Shimori freed her, but the path ahead was her choice. Vanessa's screams died down as she was loaded into a police van. Derek was silent next to her. Their destinies were sealed. Claire stood with Jack under the moonlight, the warehouse left behind as a fading shadow. Dorothy's death, Vanessa's betrayal, the near collapse of an empire, everything came together in that moment. Claire looked at Jack and saw the boy who swore to protect her and the man who had lost his way. She took his hand. Her grip was gentle but true. A step toward healing that neither of them could have foreseen. The storm over the Queen's warehouse passed, leaving a quiet night bathed in starlight. Claire Donovan, now fully embracing her identity as Emily Langley, stood next to Jack. Saliva, her hand trembled in his. At 22, she had experienced betrayal, loss, and darkness deeper than her blindness. But here she was, her cory eyes reflecting the moon, the heart of balancing something new. Jack, at 30, exhausted by his own mistakes, held her gaze. His blue eyes were full of regret and hope. The chaos of Vanessa Harper and Derek Marshall's fall faded in the background. Their arrests were a distant hum while police lights flashed. Blinked at the rusty walls, Claire's father, Richard Langley, stood nearby. His silver hair caught the moonlight. His presence was a reliable support. He saved her from Vanessa's knife. His guards acted quickly and decisively. "You are my daughter," he said. His voice was full of emotion as he stepped back, giving them space. "Whatever you choose. I'm here." Claire nodded. Gratitude swelled in her chest. She turned to Jack, the man who was her husband, her traitor, and now perhaps her truth. The collision in the warehouse tore off the lie opening. How was she? Eternity by the lake. Long ago. Dorothy Sullivan's letter, clutched in his bandaged hand, confirmed it. "Claire, your salvation." It read the last plea of a grandmother who saw what Jack did not see. Jack sank to one knee. His breathing was uneven. "I was blind, too," he said in a low and sincere voice. "Not like you. And worse, I didn't see you. Claire, I allowed Vanessa to manipulate me. Allowed my grief for Sonny to destroy us. I took your child, your trust. Your light tears streamed down his face. His words were a confession, stripped bare. You Sonny you always were. I promised you under those stars, and I broke it. But I will spend each day making it right if you let her throat tightened." Memories flashed, the laughter of water, the boy's hand in hers, a vow she had forgotten. Until now she saw the pain in his eyes, reflecting her own, and felt the weight of Dorothy's words. She sank before him. Her fingers touched him. "You broke me, Jack," she said. Her voice was firm. "Despite the tears, I lost our child. Because you turned away. I lost myself in that house, begging you to see me. I can't erase it." He nodded, accepting her truth. His head bowed. "But I remember you as you are now," she continued softer. "Jackie, who held my hand when I fell, who gave me this." She touched the necklace, his pendant in the form. The sun and moon were shining. "I don't know if I can forget, but I can try to forgive, Jack." Looked up, hope flashed in his eyes. "This is the whole I'm about squeezing her hand. See, Claire stood up, lifting him with her. I'll stay, she said. Her decision was firm. Sullivan Enterprises is your grandmother's legacy. I will help you save it, not as your wife. Not yet, but as a man who believes in second chances. Jack's face lit up with relief. A smile broke through his sadness. Think, he said, his voice wavered. I won't let you down again. You have a lot of work to do, son, he said with rare warmth in his voice. Prove yourself to my girl. A few days later, Claire and Jack stood in the Langley Mansion in Los Angeles, a spacious estate of white stone and glass. Richard gathered the family for a quiet celebration, greeting his long-lost daughter. The air was filled with the scent of jasmine. The room glowed with candlelight. Vam Lador looked at him with awe he had never shown before when the evening hymn. By the end, he took her hand and led her into the garden under the sky, ablaze with stars. Richard followed at a distance, his pride evident in his silent nod. Jack stopped under a willow tree, its branches swaying gently. I once made a promise, he said, taking from his pocket a pendant in the shape of the sun's twin. The moon's, I'm after Zhenya. I lost you but found you again. He placed the necklace around her neck, linking the pendants together. The sun and moon were finally united. Will you let me keep this promise? Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her heart filled with love she'd buried deep. She saw the boy he was and the man he was becoming, and nodded. Yes, she said in a whisper, I will. He pulled her to him. They met in a kiss that erased years of separation, the vow renewed in silence. Richard watched from the porch. A tear rolled down his cheek. His daughter was finally whole. Claire and Jack returned to Los Angeles. Hand in hand, their future was uncertain, but the Bright Sullivan Enterprises will be reborn, supported by the Langley Corporation, a testament to their shared determination. They planned a quiet life there, far from the chaos of New York, a chance to heal and build anew. The stars above reflected the night of their childhood promise. The circle is complete. Claire, once a blind girl sold for pennies, is now Emily Langley, a woman of strength and grace. Jack, once lost in his own blindness, became her partner. Redeemed by love, together they stepped into tomorrow. The necklace became a symbol of a bond unbroken by time.